Evening everyone, it's me again, Dean Reilly, and I'm continuing my ShiftMS YouTube takeover for the month of July. I've had a few messages and a few people comment and ask me about my journey, I suppose is the best way to put it. So I thought I'd give you a little video just explaining in a little bit more detail exactly what I've gone through. So in October 2012, I got a letter through the door to say, "Dear Dean, you've got MS. Deal with it, we'll see you in 12 months. Now that sounds pretty harsh to someone that hasn't gone through the diagnosis, but I'm sure most of us will be well aware that by the time you get the official diagnosis, you're pretty much well aware that it is going to be MS, you know, to a certain degree anyway. It still was difficult to read. Overwhelming feeling of being vulnerable, and as a man for the very first time in my life, you know, as a young man, to be feeling vulnerable was horrible. It was scary. It was difficult to understand, you know. As a kid growing up, a great upbringing, was never ever in a million years ever felt scared or vulnerable in my life. And there's nothing really that can teach you how to deal with that, if I'm being honest. I guess it's one of those things that you learn from and grow from. So I decided that I was going to take on MS and give it a doing. And that day, it was a Wednesday, and I signed up for the Great Edinburgh Run, which I think was on a Saturday from memory. Now, I made the announcement on Facebook about my MS diagnosis and the fact that I was going to be running a 10k. Now for my friends, God bless them, they all love me to bits and they've been a great support. When they heard me doing a 10k, they were like, no chance. The big guy struggles to run a bath, never mind a 10k. But they all came out in force and supported me, which was incredible. And that was the very first 10k I done. I raised the money for the MS Society, and it was brilliant. I'd made a promise to myself, not to anybody else. Yeah, the fundraising was a byproduct of me taking control of my life and fighting MS. So it was great. It was fantastic. Raising money for a great cause, a good charity that does a lot of fantastic work. But when I crossed that finish line, I made a promise to myself that I wasn't going to be a victim. I wasn't going to feel sorry for myself. And as much as I made that promise to myself, I probably broke it quite a few times between then and where I am today. But it drew a line under the sand and said, well, do you know what, you never thought you could achieve a 10k, so what else can I do? I done another few 10ks, then I moved on to a triathlon, which was on New Year's Day, which was pretty hard going. I loved it. So many supportive people came out and cheered me on, and again, it just was brilliant. The feeling that I would experience afterwards, after finishing the 10k and the triathlon, I felt strong, and I felt, in a cheesy sort of way, I felt like I was a young man again. I was a strong and I was a man, and I wasn't scared and vulnerable of MS. And people always ask me, you know, why do you keep doing what you do? If I'm being honest, yeah, the fundraising is definitely a part of it, because it does inspire you when you're feeling tired and you're feeling down, that people are relying on you and that you've got responsibilities. And that definitely pushed me on, and it pushed me to then take on a marathon. And as I am today, I've now completed 6 full marathons, 2 of which have been in London, which is probably the most iconic and famous marathons in the world. And after each one, I do get this full, you know, this sense of having no fear and not feeling vulnerable, which is fantastic. But I would be doing a disservice to people living with MS and to anybody else to not explain a little bit of the lows that come along with those highs. And one in particular was, I'd just done the Edinburgh Marathon, and it might have been about 6 weeks or 8 weeks after, and I was still feeling like Superman. I was like the Hulk, you know. I was I had a swagger on and I was feeling fantastic. And I remember I was standing at the bus stop heading to work, and I worked for in a sports store, still do. And so uniform was on, light grey joggies, hoodie, you name it. And I was just standing there waiting on the bus, and all of a sudden I felt like my shins and my feet were getting wet. There's no idea what it was. And I looked down, and I'd had a bout of sort of incontinence. It just completely blew me. I felt ashamed, so embarrassed, humiliated. The people at the bus stop seen what happened. Got myself home, and I was distraught because, you know, as I say, you know, I felt on top of the world. I felt like the Hulk. I've just done a marathon. Everybody that knew me, that knew that had MS, and I was a big unit. Listen, let's not think that it's all just about having MS. That's was the achievement of doing a marathon. I'm a big unit. I'm probably built more for doing raffles and bake sales rather than marathons and triathlons. But, you know, I felt brilliant. Everybody was coming up to me and congratulating me. I was in the papers, which was fantastic. And I felt unstoppable. And then from that total high, euphoric high, to the absolute lowest of the low, where I'm going, oh, what's the point? You know, what's the point of doing bloody marathons and doing triathlons and trying to be positive and fighting this MS when I can't even get to my work? You know, I've just peed myself in front of strangers in the middle of the street, and it was like so obvious that it's and it was hard. And I went into my cell, and I didn't probably open up to people. Probably more so the people that were closest to me. I never talked about it, which was probably a mistake. But you live and learn. So the marathons that I've done, the other events that I've done, challenges that I've agreed to do and tried to do, they all come from the same, they're all driven with the same purpose, which is to not feel scared, not to feel vulnerable, and feel like I'm alive, if that makes sense to anybody. I'm not sure if I'm maybe explaining it well enough, but certainly living with MS can take away everything from you. It can strip you of your self-respect and dignity, you know, like it did with me in the high street. It can make you feel the most loneliest person in the world. And it can shatter your confidence. You know, your confidence from my perspective. I've just done a marathon to I can't get on a bus. And even with all the support that I had, the friends that were always there for me, always on the end of the phone, very supportive partner at the time, all of that, you know, I still felt shockingly bad and incredibly low. So it terrifies me what somebody goes through that's perhaps, for example, moved to Edinburgh for work, is single, doesn't have any family around them, he has some friends, and has just got a diagnosis of MS, and they're on their own to deal with that. That scares the life out of me. And I think once I got more of an understanding of that, of what it could be like for others, I have now almost taken this on as a purpose to show that despite done marathons, despite winning on awards and having famous pals and whatever that other people might look at and go, ah, yeah, well, it's all right for him, I still feel the same as everybody else. And it's hard, and it does. Places like the MS Therapy Centre in Leith that provide a little bit of social side of things, not just the helping people manage their symptoms and live with MS better, but it gives you that social circle and that network of support that you can rely on and that you can draw on to pick you up when you're down. You've all probably seen the video as well the other night there where I was completely fatigued, happens regularly. I've now made my peace with that I don't hate myself for feeling tired, and I used to, and I just got on with it. And I think when you're talking about fighting MS and you're talking about living with MS, there really isn't anything else than just getting on with it and rolling your sleeves up. And as cliche and as cheesy as it sounds, that when the going gets tough, the tough get going. You just go for it. I'm not looking at these things like the stem cells or the other treatments as miracle cures. Every other day somebody sends me a link for a new miracle cure for MS, and I don't. 9 times out of 10, I don't read them. If I'm being honest, it maybe sounds ignorant and a little bit arrogant, but I've made my peace with what MS could possibly do to me. I've made my peace that I've got it, and now every day is about going out and having no regrets. So, you know, if I wake up tomorrow and I can't walk, and I have to pack in all the charity stuff, the marathons and so forth, I can look back with a degree of pride that, yeah, I've not been the quickest guy in the world to get round them, but I've got round them. It's, for me, it's about being able to deal with the psychological worries that will come with loss of mobility, severe depression, illness and things like that all come hand in hand with MS. And if I can look back and go, well, do you know what, you tried and you done your best and you couldn't really have done much more, I think I'll live and I'll adapt and overcome to whatever else MS can throw at me. And it's not a case of, you know, not caring about what happens or not wanting to prevent anything that happens. But the bottom line is we're all doing our own thing to a certain degree. You know, you can read, don't eat dairy and don't do this and don't do that, and yeah, if every person with MS was to live how each of these different experts tell you to live, you'd never leave the house. You'd be terrified. You'd be eating, I don't know, rice and beans or whatever for the rest of your days. And well, I'm a big unit, so I would I'll deal with whatever comes to me, and I'll eat what I want and drink when I want. And if I'm strong enough and well enough to do a marathon, I'll do it. And if I'm no, I'll no. And whatever may come with this journey with MS, I'm now in a position where I don't have any fear or any regrets of what I've done so far. And I can't control tomorrow or next week or next year, but I can control today. And that's what I'll do, is I'll keep getting up every morning and I'll keep attempting to take full control of my todays, and hopefully that makes my tomorrows a little bit easier and a little bit better. But anyway, I feel like I've depressed the life out of everyone, and you know, with MS, severe depression is definitely one of the kicks in the stones. So I hope I'm not bored you to tears. But this week, coming Monday onwards, is an exciting time. I've got a meeting with MS Society tomorrow to be involved in some of their campaigns, which I'm really looking forward to. And I'm going to we'll do a wee video with the MS Society tomorrow at the meeting, and we'll get a few of the people to come and say hi. I've got a few interviews with other people that live with MS to talk to them about their diagnosis, their story, and try and make it as interactive and as fun as possible. I'm also hoping to get some interviews with some senior people at the MS Society, and also Anne Reilly, so fingers crossed that comes off. But I think the real interesting viewing that you'll all find will be at the MS Therapy Centre this week, where I'm going to go down and do a bit of filming around not just the hyperbaric oxygen chamber, which I've used myself, but the social element of the centre, and what that impact has, the impact it's had on me, and what it has on everybody on a daily basis, and how vital organisations and places like these are, and the pivotal in helping people manage and live better with MS. So as I say, I don't want to bore you all to tears. I'm looking at the clock and seeing 15 minutes, and geez, I think I've probably bored myself. But as always, it's been lovely, and I will speak to you all soon. Good night.